shut down the country during the early spread of coronavirus. They did that to flatten the curve. They did that so there would be enough hospital beds for the mass number of people who were expected to be hospitalized. Now, with numbers again rising, but with still plenty of hospital beds available, could you, Mr. Weingartner, see yourself supporting another shutdown?
Absolutely not. We cannot close down our economy again. We can't let the remedy for this Chinese virus be worse than the implications of the virus itself. We've got to continue to have our economy running, our businesses open so that they can continue to provide for their families. We've seen a number of people that are struggling because of this, because they haven't been able to work, because the mitigation efforts themselves, not the virus, but the mitigation efforts were the things that really hurt people's paychecks, and we can't allow that to continue, or we'll have even more long-term ramifications for our economy.
Okay, you have a little time left. Would you like to go ahead and send it over to Dr.
Sure.
Jackson? Dr. Jackson, you have 60 seconds.
Absolutely not. This is not going to shut our economy down again. You know, the president stepped up to the plate, did the right thing early on. He shut down travel from China and travel from Europe whenever we didn't know a lot about this virus. We've learned a lot about this virus in the meantime. We've learned that the mortality rate's probably close to 0.1%. We were initially told that the mortality rate was going to be about 10%. Now that we've educated ourselves, we know from experience what this virus is really capable of. We know what the vulnerable populations are, being the really elderly and those that have pre-existing conditions. We need to continue to take care of those and keep them a little bit, social distance and be careful with them. But the rest of us have to get back to work at this point. Knowing what we know about this virus, I can promise you there's no way. This virus might come back in the fall, but it will not shut our economy down again. It's just not going to happen.
Today, the USDA and President Trump announced that they would give $86 million in additional funding to strengthen and to make more available broadband internet in our rural communities. There has been an education gap forming between students who have Wi-Fi and who do not have Wi-Fi during this time where schools have been shut down. How do we catch those students up? Dr. Jackson, this is to you first. How do we catch those students up who are not able to attend school during the coronavirus shutdown?
Well, we've got to get that broadband out there. We've got to do that. I mean, broadband's a huge issue in this district for a variety of reasons, not just because of the education and the fact that, we have students now that can't attend school and to rely on broadband for their education, but we have a big issue with our rural hospitals. I've been traveling around the district with Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller. We've been talking a lot about the issues of rural hospitals that are out there, the fact that, we need telemedicine to continue to be a robust part of what we're doing in this country. So I think the president stepping up and giving some money, providing some money for broadband is going to do a lot for this district. People ask me all the time, how can we bring industry to this district? Well, we can't bring industry to this district unless we have things that people need on a day-to-day basis. Education and healthcare are two of the biggest things that we need. Those in the rural parts of Texas, I grew up in a rural farming community. I know what it's like. They rely on broadband at this point to provide both of those services, and it's incredibly important that we do that, and I thank the president for doing that.
Mr. Jackson, the same question to you. Excuse me, Mr. Weingartner.
That's fine. I agree completely. The importance of broadband it's huge in this district, and it can be a real game changer for not just education, but for all of our businesses and for our everyday lives. One of the things that we experienced during COVID was that when you have two working parents on Zoom calls, and then you've got two kids doing Google Classroom work, even when you have really good broadband, it still goes down. I mean, we've got to not just have the fiber to the homes, we've got to make sure that we have a high-speed connection so that we can all continue to work. This is a great opportunity for us to really benefit our rural communities in addition to telemedicine, but it's a great opportunity for us to close that divide and allow people that would rather live and work in a rural community to do so and telecommute to one of the cities. And I think that creates a new dynamic, because you keep young families in rural communities, and you increase the number of kids in the schools, you increase the participation in other parts of your community.
If another public health crisis were to happen, or a second wave of COVID-19, start with you, Josh Weingartner, what would you like to see handled differently if you were elected to District 13?
Well, I think the thing that we have to look at is that President Trump and Governor Abbott did a great job with the information that they had available. We know that the Chinese lied to us. We know that they hoarded their own PPE. They shut down their own internal flights, but they didn't shut down the international flights, so we saw that spread because of that. we've got to hold the Chinese accountable. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I was so surprised when I heard my opponent tell a Fox News anchor that he believed the numbers that were coming out of China. And then, and again, in his latest financial report, he actually works for a Chinese company that is selling a holistic herbal remedy for coronavirus. So I'd like to hear more information about why he's working for this Chinese company.
Okay, you have 30 seconds.
I'd like to tell you, first you need to clean the wax out of your ears. I never said anything about believing the numbers that are coming